So the final part of our chapter 2 is going to be modeling the hair and making sure that it's modeled so that we can texture it later on. So if I just position my concept art here to show the hair, that can give me a bit of an indication on how to style the different strands. And I figure in this case, polygon hair is going to be the way to go. And I've just added a plane here and rotated it 90 degrees and then scale it outward. I'm then going to Control R and add 3 loop cuts. At this point I'm just playing around with the basic shape of the hair and the starting position, but that will be modified later on as we actually place the hair and style it. And I've just placed the mesh so that the origin is around the second to top loop cut area. Now I'm going to come in and change my left window here to the UV image editor. And then by hitting the U key, I can select Unwrap. You can see it's currently mapped sideways, so I'm just going to rotate and let it match how the mesh looks in my 3D view a little bit more. It doesn't really matter what image is there or where the mapping is exactly, as long as the integrity is intact. That's the important thing, that the unwrap has been done on that first initial hair strand. I'll come in and add a subsurf modifier and just set smooth to prepare the hair strand. And then just make a small extrusion at the top with the top 2 vertices just to sharpen that edge a little bit more. So now all the initial preparation has been done, and this will make it a lot easier for later on, especially if I begin texturing the ninja at some other point. I'll make a duplication of the initial hair strand and just generally place it around the starting area of the hair coming out of his mask. So you can really just play around with the mesh at this point, scale it, warp it, rotate, move everything that you need to do to get the hair shape, and the texturing will, the unwrap will stay completely as it was before. And the idea is that later on we'll be adding hair strand texture onto that, and it will follow the hair strand along. That won't be covered in this DVD, but the preparations have been made, so look out for it in the future. So at this point I'm just looking at my reference and matching to it. So you can see as the hair strand reaches the tip, I've just been scaling those vertices down, just to show the hair thinning out to an end point so it isn't too bulky at the tip. And you can see I don't have to keep taking from the original hair strand and manipulating it. I can even duplicate the hair strands that are there, especially if they're going to be quite similar looking shapes, and then just make some small modifications to it. Now I'm making decisions here on which hair strands are going to be in front of others, and that can really help with the look of this style. Once I've got the basic shape, you can notice I'm just making a loop cut vertically along the hair strand, and then by using Alt S again I can push out either the whole middle of the hair strand or individual vertices, just to either get rid of intersections or add a bit more of an illusion of thickness to the hair. So I'm just going to duplicate and modify slightly as many hair strands as I need to fill up the space. And that looks just about right there. So there we have the mask stretching around the face, giving the illusion that the rest of the head is inside there with hair, just with a few strands poking out. And we have the cloth tied at the back. So now we can prepare to move forward onto the rest of the body. I'll just move the original hair strand to layer 20. And I've had a look at the head mesh, and it just looks like I need to make a few proportion changes just before I move on. Sometimes you can notice some things after all the editing, and luckily with proportional editing, by box selecting some vertices like I have here, and scaling just across an axis, I can fatten the head out a bit. And just imagine that the hair is creating some extra thickness to the cloth wrapped around his head. So that looks a lot better. And that's basically the whole head area done. So now we can begin to move on further onto the rest of the body.